So the top highlights of chiropractic education globally by Philip Ebrall, a chiropractor PhD, in chapter 6 of the Careers in Chiropractic textbook. He references a number of different events that took place where in 1943 there was a Nugent's text created, which was the father of the CCE, which was founded 4 years later. Nugent was the father of the guidelines that would become established at the first college to adopt the model was Canadian Memorial in Canada, and then Anglo-European in 1965 in England, and then Australia PIT in 1975. By the late 90s, equal amount of schools outside as inside. So there was just as many schools outside the US as there was inside the US by the late 90s. And the sociocultural impacts of that were astounding. People who were called the conservative traditionalists was this model for institutional culture. Education that's been dated 30 years old. A model of learning which is so old that its mechanical industries have been built on tradition. And this is what we see with the CCE USA. It really is time to accept chiropractic has no borders and is a global profession. So there are semi-independent regional bodies, accrediting bodies called the CCE, the CCEA, which I believe is Asia, CCEEI, which sounds like either European or international, the international CCE. So yeah, CCE, and then the ECCE and the FCC. The CCE, the CCE International does not yet facilitate global portability. I'm going to repeat that one more time. The CCE International does not yet facilitate global portability. This is a key problem in the standards that are being delivered for our chiropractic students internationally. There currently are very few standards because everything varies depending on the interpretation of the different countries as to what chiropractic is and the intent of the people who are starting the schools. So in Japan, they're moving to a government recognized chiropractors register. The need is that we higher the educational standards, that we elevate the educational standards at an internationally recognized level. If we're going to improve accreditation, which is a tool right now with the potential to equalize chiropractic education and practice globally, if it's one institutional and the other programmatic, the institutional accreditation is more about the facilities and the general upkeep. And then the other one is the program accreditation, which is making sure that you're following the CCE's guidelines in regards to the outcome measures and the meta competencies, which are shown on their website. We need quantitative, not qualitative. We want to protect the public is the argument that's made when looking at why program accreditation has become such a big issue. Currently, there's no global equivalency in chiropractic education at the moment, and students can't transfer schools between countries, so there's no student mobility. Getting back to before where we said that the CCE International does not yet facilitate global portability. So the CCE is not allowing you to change countries. And this goes for students that are trying to change between schools in different countries. And it's really difficult to do even in one country. I did transfer, and it was very interesting to basically let them know what my intentions were, why I was leaving, what I had discovered on my weekends in seminars with real chiropractors that cared about the next generation and were there because they had something to share that was valuable. And the speakers at chiropractic seminars are known to be spitting like concise, condensed, really interesting, insightful information. Uh, the less that we go to these seminars where there's talking, the better. I think that seminars, professional chiropractic seminars, do need to have a lecture component, but it needs to be more conversational. And if we are going to do sort of a CCE program, then we need to allow credit. All right. All right. So take 2. So we're going to go through some of the highlights on chiropractic education. This is from chapter 6 of the chiropractic textbook, Chiropractic Careers textbook. This is chapter 6 written by Philip Ebrall. 70 years ago, the curriculum was determined and created. It was in 1944 and then again in 1992. So there's been one update since 1944, which happened in 1992, to the curriculum at chiropractic schools. And this is globally, this is looking at the highlights of global chiropractic education today, right? This is an evidence-based textbook. And so they reference Nugent's 1943 text. Who was Nugent? He was the father of the CCE. In 1947 is when the CCE was started, which was 4 years after Nugent published this textbook. The first school to adopt it was Canadian Memorial, and then Anglo-European in 1965, which was, wow, 28 years later. And then Australia in 1975, 38 years later. And then by the late 90s, there was an equal amount of schools outside as inside the CCE guidelines. So there was the same amount of schools by the late 90s operating within and without. And the sociocultural impacts were that there were people that were resisting and trying to stay out of this model. That you would call them the conservative traditionalists. This model of institutional culture with education that's 30 plus years old. So these models of learning are based on really old models that were created early on. The root of the current learning structure and the learning that has to happen to become a licensed DC it's extremely difficult. It might as well be a medical education mixed with a physical therapy education mixed with a chiropractic education. But to each their own. The current mechanical industries that are built on tradition is the analogy that they've used to describe the CCE United States of America in this book. They use the mechanical industries because, Ford Tough, they talk about how long this model has held up under the pressures and stood the test of time. But it's really time to accept that chiropractic has no borders and is a global profession. Okay. Currently, we have 5 different semi-independent regional accrediting bodies. The CCE International does not yet facilitate global portability, which means that the CCE International is not allowing you to move from one country to the other. If you're a chiropractic student and you want your credits to transfer from one chiropractic school in one country to another, that is not yet happening. So the standards are varying in country to country of chiropractic education based on the intent and interpretation of this original sort of CCE driven curriculum. And I'm not knocking the curriculum. Curriculum is solid. There's tons of data and information to learn, and it makes you become a really strong-minded person. Japan is moving to a government recognized chiropractors registry, and they're saying that Japan needs, in order to move to a registry in their country, they need higher educational standards at an internationally recognized level. So right now, chiropractic is based on accreditation. Chiropractic education is run on accreditation, which has been used as a tool with the potential to equalize chiropractic education. It's a tool because in order to practice globally, accreditation is going to need to be created in order for standards to exist, right? We need higher educational standards at an internationally recognized level. So this pre-Cairo program we're working on is really aiming to create higher educational standards at an internationally recognized level, because that's the need that new countries have that are trying to allow chiropractic into their country. Accreditation is the key if you want to play within the system of sort of institutional accreditation, where your institution has to live up to someone else's standards, or program accreditation, where your curriculum needs to live up to the standards that have been created. So both the institution needs to live up to the accreditation standards, and that's the school, by the way. The school has to keep up with the new accreditation standards. So everybody's always focused on the accreditation standards. And that's like the business side and the political side of being a primary care healthcare profession that thinks differently from the establishment. What we need more of is quantitative research. We don't need as much qualitative. We have a ton of case studies, tons of good quality qualitative research, but we need more quantitative, specifically when it comes to the reduction of nerve system stress, mechanical spinal cord tension, any areas where there's a disconnection from self, where a person cannot feel that area because the nervous system has been altered in tone, and potentially there's a reduction in nerve flow to that tissue cell. So anyway, we need more quantitative research, not qualitative. And there's no global equivalency in chiropractic education as of now. This means that we have no agreement on what exactly a person needs in order to be considered a good program. If we're starting a new program in Japan, for example, we need to have a standard to look at to start our new education system. But as of now, there's no equivalency. So we've got schools opening up in physical therapy schools and medical schools, not even really rooted in chiropractic. You actually have to be a physical therapist to become a chiropractor in those schools. And so this is what's happening because chiropractic education is not evolving. And thank goodness in today's state, we've got things like Kairos University launching live classes to support students at schools, and we're going to just launch classes. And it's inspiring. It makes us want to launch classes, because if you don't get the chiropractic education that we got, then you're not going to feel ready for the real world. So we want students to really grasp the responsibilities that are coming to them after chiropractic school. We want to create a global equivalency so that we can really standardize chiropractic-centered education, just to at least agree on where the schools are that are chiropractic-centered, which would theoretically be the ones that operated outside of the CCE in the past. And, regardless, we'll play the game. We're in the CCE's game, but basically there's no global equivalency in chiropractic education. And we've got all these bodies of different chiropractors from different parts of the world that are like sitting at a table trying to figure out who's boss. But in reality, the people are losing out. We're not generating enough chiropractors globally. And this is why, because students in chiropractic school can't transfer between schools without really losing credits on their transfer. And student mobility is very difficult. If you're trying to go country to country, no way. But if you're trying to even just do a countryside, like in the US, for example, from one school to another within the same country, you're still going to lose out quite a bit of credits on your transfer, and it'll cost you $10 to $15 to $20,000 given the expense of school these days. So my personal story is I went to a school that was very medicalized. I chose the school for its location and the fact I would have a mentor who was inspiring and very interesting. He knew my dad. So I wanted, he actually was an SOT, sacro-occipital technique professional. And it was very cool to me that I had a background as a massage person. I had worked in an office who did basically personal injury, full spine adjusting, with me as their massage therapist and fitness coordinator. And I think that um, as a side tangent, we need more chiropractic assistants who are breath workers, movement instructors. They can facilitate a physical therapy assistant type of activity, like teaching somebody how to do spinal hygiene or putting somebody into a position where they might get traction, or even just allowing somebody to do SRI. We need more of these types of professionals working in chiropractic offices. And that's what I heard earlier today in a discussion with a gentleman who's really growing chiropractic worldwide down in South America. And he said that, yeah, we need more chiropractic schools that are teaching chiropractic assistant education, because our chiropractic assistants need training. And that's really the biggest challenge, is if they can make your systems more fluid and effective, then chiropractic assistants are a great way to expand the context for education. We need more chiropractic assistant education available, right? And so that was his big plea. Uh, New direction is needed. This is coming from a PhD chiropractor, Dr. Philip Ebrall. He says new direction is needed. Specialty education to match varying practice styles would lead to more thorough general practice training in a trickle down model, and also lead to new legislation for specialty practice jurisdiction to emerge. So once again, we're coming back to the legal stuff here and these equivalencies, these accreditations. So legislation for specialty practice jurisdiction, which is a policy change, would mean that if we had specialty education, like you're a pediatric chiropractor, you're a functional neurology chiropractor, you're a functional medicine chiropractor, you're a full spine chiropractor, you're a vitalistic chiropractor, you're a corrective chiropractor, you're a network chiropractor, you're a chiropractic artist. You don't have a style. You blend a bunch of styles. You're just an artist, and that's what we're promoting. We would love more creativity seen in the education process. So the main problem right now is the complexity in teaching, learning psychomotor skills. So we don't have quantitative measures of what the ideal psychomotor skills look like. And I think with, the video game conference showing me kind of what you see in the video games where they put sensors on people, there's definitely some need for sensors to be put on some of these people that we have that are just gems in the art. We need to go around, hook them up to a motion sensor and have them move around while they're adjusting. And we need to also identify the clinical decision making process uh, and mind map what a chiropractor is thinking, so that we can repeatedly deliver optimal chiropractic education and intervention into the lives of the people that these new chiropractors are taking care of. There's a need, a solution. If we have a standardized skill set suited to general practice, the WFC, World Federation of Chiropractic, is the profession's global industry body. In 2005, they published a document endorsed by the World Health Organization. In this document, they're calling for more quantitative manner in which accreditation team gathers, documents, and ranks its evidence against individual standards or elements. The most meaningful measures are those that document how a school achieves its mission. So it comes down to a school's mission. The most meaningful measure is how a school achieves its mission, and which of our measures fulfill our mission that can be documented with our program. So you have to create quantitative measures that help illustrate to the accreditation body that your school is fulfilling its mission. These are going to come in the form of need outcomes-based assessments. So another need is an outcomes-based assessment of the means that we fulfill the mission. So there's an outcomes-based assessment needed to be created that illustrates how we fulfill our mission. So a Cairo myth is, I'm just thankful and lucky I haven't needed one. You go to a dentist even though you don't need one, right? So most people think the only reason to go to the chiropractor is for back pain alleviation. We all know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the chiropractic adjustment goes way beyond pain. In reality, a chiropractic relationship should be thought of like a dentist. Is that a myth or is that truth? A chiropractic relationship should be thought of like a dentist. You go when there is a problem. You go even if there isn't a problem. You are seeing it as a process, a project to take care of your teeth through your entire life. In chiropractic, we could say it's just to get a tune-up, get adjusted, adjust your mind and your body to its environment so that you can have a neuro clarity that allows you to have better energy, more flexibility in your emotional state and your mental state and your physical state, more longevity and susceptibility to injury is mitigated. Just because you can't see your spine. Oh, okay. Here's another myth. How do I know them? Here's another myth. Just because you can't see your spine change doesn't mean it's not deteriorating, building up plaque, showing signs of wear and tear. Sitting is to the spine like sugar is to the teeth. Another myth, I believe this came from a talk I heard of David Serio on YouTube. Aches and pains come with age, not necessarily. Take a look at health of some of the older people you know. Not a great situation. Did they live physically active, movement sufficient, well adjusted? Were they activated and moving through life? Or were they just basically only going to the doctor when they needed it, really needed, and barely ever go to the doctor? Well, chiropractic has the same benefits as exercise for the brain and the spine. So if you're not exercising enough, you should definitely go to the chiropractor, get adjusted. Once you got that wellness in you, you're going to be ready to activate your brain for more exercise and move your spine efficiently. Anyway. So crazy.